I could ask Trustee Marjorie Adams to give the invocation.
May we who are assembled here have a true understanding of the duties that are placed in our hands. We seek to have the wisdom to honor our obligations to the good of the residents of Renfrew County, to the parents, teachers, electors, and especially students. May those who teach be ever inspired by goodness, and may the wisdom and knowledge which they impart to our students ever serve as a beacon to lighten their way. As trustees and administrators, we will work together with integrity, perseverance, and respect to the fulfillment of the trust bestowed upon us.
Thank you, Trustee Adams. We have a request from one member of the board, Trustee Nikkei, who's unable to be with us this afternoon. I need a motion to approve the agenda of today's meeting. Trustee Shields and Trustee Gannett. All those in favor? Very much. The motion to confirm the agenda is carried. Are there any conflicts of interest? As we look at the agenda. Seeing none, let's move on then. Need a motion to confirm the minutes of the September 28th, 2021 board meeting. Trustee Humphries, thank you very much, and blocking on this. And Trustee Boland. All those in favor? Okay, thank you. Motion to confirm the minutes of September 28th, 2021 meeting is carried. As we typically say, this is the best part of the meeting, and absolutely is. We have a presentation this afternoon on student success. Reflections from the Field is the title, and I'm intrigued by that. And if I could ask Superintendent Jacqueline Poirier to introduce our group of presenters today.
Thanks. In reflection about thinking about presentations, also aligning when we're doing some information in regards to secondary program review, we thought again that it'd be helpful to be able to do presentations that are linked to help with that and assist. So this afternoon we have with us representatives from 3 of our high schools. And as part of the presentation, what will happen is that Jenny Smith is going to facilitate asking them some questions, and we're going to hear their reflections from the field. We have 3 schools represented. So we have Dean Zato and Margaret Cruchet from Madawaska Valley District High School. You know that Dean is the principal there, and Margaret has been longstanding as a student success teacher at Madawaska Valley as well, and also is currently working in a guidance capacity. We also have from Armpar District High School, we have Ian Cavell and Christina Paymont, and Ian is currently the vice principal at ADHS, and Christina is probably our longest standing student success teacher, been involved with the initiative, and I thought it's a really neat opportunity to have people with different experiences in student success. So I'll explain a bit of that in a minute. And then our last, we have Natalie McNamara with us from Mackenzie Community School. And I believe, is Rob able to attend, Jenny? I think he is not able to, Natalie? Okay, yeah. So unfortunately, he was going to be here, but unable to at this moment. So Natalie McNamara is the student success teacher at Mackenzie Community School. From a perspective of things, I feel what's interesting is we have Christina and Margaret who've been involved with student success as student success teachers for a number of years, been with our district and working in that role. Like I said, Christina's probably the longest serving with it from the very beginning, and Margaret would probably be pretty close, I would say. We also have Dean Zato, who's worked as an administrator for a number of years, and been involved with student success. And then we have Natalie McNamara, who's been in the role for a few years, but she's newer in her career with us. And then Ian Cavell, of course, who's been a teacher in our district and a newly appointed vice principal and made a switch from elementary to secondary. And so their reflections, I think, will be unique in taking a look at where have we been and where are we headed, and what do people see from those different perspectives as well in terms of where they've been in this journey with us. So I'll turn it over to Jenny, who's going to be the moderator or facilitator, whatever we want to call it. Thank you.
On this episode.
And just many thanks for all of you of making the time to be here. It's nice to see you. And you probably can't see me talking, but it's nice to see all of you.
So, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming to be here with us today. So we have 3 questions that we'd like you to ask you this afternoon, and really looking forward to your perspective and your responses to help add to our thinking as we continue to move forward with this review. So the first question for us to think about is, as an educator, I'm not sure where I should be looking. Let's go out there. As an educator, what value do you feel student success has contributed to our system over time, specifically in the areas of literacy and numeracy, community culture and caring, and pathways? And we'll let MV answer this question first.
Hi, everyone. I'm Margaret Cruchet from MV. I'd like to start if I could. Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So just looking at your question, I think I'd love to speak to how student success has contributed to community, culture, and caring as an interesting perspective, because the program has really matured over time. And what we've seen at MV is that it's really become a backbone to our school culture, very much so. So that means that teachers, students from all pathways, like you really are feeling that they're valuing the program as something that's quite essential to the positive focus on wellness in the school. As a program, student success, with all of its pieces, it's made the school a place that students are more connected to and belong to. And that comes from its mandate, the resources, that are part of that, and the time, that we have, whether it's through, a section that provides leadership to the program, but also just the entire team being able to create a school culture that really empathizes with a child's whole situation. And I think that is really the key, is that it's that culture that's focusing on empathizing with a child and always bringing, right, everything that's happening in the school back to that.
Thanks, Margaret. Did you want to add anything on that question?
No, well said, Margaret. Thank you.
All right, excellent. So we'll turn it over to Mackenzie next. Natalie, I guess that's you today.
Hello, can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, perfect. I'll be missing Rob today, but I'll do my best. Just wanted to speak a little bit to kind of our connection and supporting math and literacy. I think it's very important. We've built these wonderful collaborative relationships where we're supporting directly in very specifically the grade 9 and 10 English and math classrooms. And I think even I was reminded by this morning before we had our student success meeting, I briefly popped into a math class because the new 1W math, because they were doing review prior to an assessment tomorrow. And I was just checking in with the kids quickly as they were doing review. And one of the students asked me a question that took place on a day that I had actually not been in the classroom. And it was something from the new strand that was pulled out of data management. And I think it was a really great opportunity. I was like, you know what, hang on, that's such a great question. I'm just going to quickly grab your teacher because I want to hear how they're explaining this to you so that I know the best way to explain that in the future. And I do think that those important collaborations between student success and the classroom teacher and the instructional coaches, I actually think it really helps that kids are looking at this collaborative relationship between adults in their school. And when we're developing kind of common language and common strategies, and they're seeing us working together, it really actually reinforces that growth mindset piece that the kids are also seeing myself and the teacher in there as a learner as well, and that we're working together to support them. And I think that when we're directly in the classroom, it is really important because the language that we're using is the same. It's less confusing for the kids, and we're getting better results in the end. So we certainly have seen really wonderful partnerships come out of this. And I think it's important in preparation for the literacy testing and just achievement in math. I think there's many wonderful things that we can do when we're in those collaborations directly in the classroom.
Thanks, Nat. Armprior?
Can everybody hear me okay as well? Hello,
Very well.
everyone. So I think the other two schools have already touched upon literacy and numeracy and the culture of caring. So I'm going to touch a little bit upon maybe the community aspect as well that we've relied upon a lot at our school for student success. There have been often different times that throughout the years, as Jacqueline kind of indicated, I've been in this role for a while, so I've had the privilege of really developing some key partnerships in our community to help out our students. And some of those examples maybe of different relationships that we've been able to develop are from different professionals in the community, like optometrists or dentists, orthodontists, to local businesses in the community. We've had also a really close relationship with our local health unit and have been able to run some programs before COVID with them as well. But I think that is another role that we haven't touched upon yet, community, and what a key role this position has allowed us to develop those relationships over the time, and have been able to use those relationships to help out our students when they need it most.
Thanks, Christina. Ian, did you want to add to an answer?
Yeah, just a little, if that's okay, Jenny, from the perspective of an outsider, if you will, looking in to a brand new sort of system. And I think for me, when I'm really looking about the value of how student success has impacted, for me, it's about the influence of those teachers that we see on the screen, and that influence they have, it's enormous. And I speak specifically from my experience with Christina. I know the relationships she's built. She's built those relationships with families over time, not necessarily the individual students, but I was able to see just the gigantic impact of that influence coming in, because students would trust me as a new person coming into the building. They would trust me based on my relationship with her, based on the fact that she's seeing me as a trusted individual within the building. I had a rapport like that was really only up to me to break or make from that point on. But that backbone, that trust factor in terms of always having their back and working for the best of the students, I think is where she's able to make these incredible roads in terms of literacy and numeracy, in terms of the academics in our building. Because it starts with that relationship that she's built, and it's built on trust. It's built on knowing that they're going to be there. And I think for me, looking on the inside in, or on the outside looking in as a new person, it's that gigantic influence that is just so powerful. Whether it's through academics or whether it's just through social groups, peer groups, other issues going on in the building. When Miss Paymont says something, or to see kids wanting to put her snow tires on, being in the foods class and seeing them making it for her, she definitely has an impact. And I think that to me is the biggest thing that I've noticed on student success teams going in, is how they influence everything within the building. Like you were saying, Margaret, the real backbone of the building.
I have a bit of chills going on. So those are really powerful words that you've shared. Before we leave that question, does anyone have any further comments based on something that one of your colleagues said you wanted to add before we leave that first question? Dean often has something else to add, so I thought I'd better double check.
He's waiting. He has something to add.
Nobody would ever believe that, Jenny. There's no doubt about it. Don't worry, I'll keep going on questions 2 and 3.
All right, perfect. All right, so our next question then, chance for you to be able to really think about celebrating the work that you do. What aspect of student success at your school are you the most proud of? And that maybe we'll start with you on this one.
Hi, perfect. I apologize. I am nervous, but I have notes written down, so I'm going to be looking at those as well. I am really profoundly proud of so many things that student success brings to our school, and I think you're going to hear a lot of us echoing some of the same things. I think some of what I am the most proud of is, again, like the relationships and that culture of caring for the whole student that we're bringing into the school. And I do think that all members of our student success team, like myself included, but guidance, co-op, and our CERT and our admin team, we're involved in so many aspects of student life that let kids know that we care about them in many different ways. For example, like we're all represented in our Link Crew program, which transitions grade 9s and does the orientation, bringing them in. So it's that warm welcome and connection to student services and that angle right away. We're running the nutrition program. We're doing pre-COVID whole school mental health workshops. I've got notes here. We do exam preparation workshops, and our SSC collaborates with us talking about mental health and supporting your well-being and de-stressing and how to approach exams that way and take care of yourself. So students are hearing that like academics are important, but also their well-being is so important. And also like regularly we facilitate, again, kind of pre-COVID, but we facilitate lunchtime clubs that like we did a Walking Wednesdays before, we did game clubs at lunch, but they're actually to facilitate friendship making for at-risk kids and giving them a safe place to go. And I think those things are so important in school. I also, like our whole team is really prioritizing relationships with vulnerable students. And again, for some of those kids where attendance is an issue, it's almost incredibly surprising. Like they will actually come into the building because they know there is a caring, smiling face now under the mask, but somebody who genuinely cares about them, who wants to help to meet those obstacles together, because some of these kids face so many barriers in their life. And the only thing that gets them into the building might be a relationship. So I think that's super, super important. And then also, one of the last things that we talked about is all of us in the student success teams have had conversations around, we are privileged enough sometimes to see the best of kids that sometimes the classroom teachers, it's hard for them to see these wonderful pieces of the student. And we see these glimmers of hope from kids who seem super reluctant. But having us being able to form that relationship and share that with the teacher, and to echo what Ian said as well, if the kids trust us and then I'm able to make a connection with the teacher and say, hey, did you actually know that, Mr. So-and-so is really into cross-country skiing and you guys should talk about that. It actually helps facilitate a connection between the student and their classroom teacher as well. Which I think is really important. And like we can share a lot of specific things about their strengths and needs of the learner profile because we know the kids in such a holistic way. So sorry, so many things there. But I think there's lots to be proud of in the work that all of the student success teams are doing in the school.
That's great, Natalie. Thank you. If that's what nervous looks like for you, you're doing really well. Great job. Okay, Ian or Christina?
I think again, like you're going to hear this idea of relationships fairly often today. For me personally, relationships is for sure something that I feel most proud of. I think the position that we are all in, we have that privilege and that flexibility in our job to be able to take the time to get to know students in a different way that classroom teachers cannot. And we have that opportunity to be their cheerleaders, right? We're their cheerleaders and we are there for them and are advocating for them no matter what, and have that opportunity to never, we're never giving up on them. And we help them feel that, I think, over that 4-year period. And it does equate into that moment 4 or 5 years down the road when you see them walk across the stage. For me, that's just like so incredible. We can all, I'm sure, think of those kids that when we see them walk across that stage, it's wow, everything that went into that. And I think for me, that's what I'm personally most proud of. It's the relationships with our students. It's the relationship with our staff. Like Natalie said, we can't do our jobs if we don't have equally good relationships with our staff. And I think we're kind of there, the in between those two pieces, those two bodies of people in the buildings, and we play a very important role in relationship building.
You know, often we talk about the work that you do as being coach-like in lots of ways,
Yeah.
coach-like with the students and coach-like with other staff members as well.
Most definitely.
Go ahead, Ian.
No, most definitely. I was just thinking when you're saying coach, like, to me, that's the proudest moment that I was able to witness, and it occurred in the shutdown of Quad 4 last year, and to see at midterm where we stood as a team, and not a single one gave up. In fact, it was like, okay, well, where do we go from here? How do we get this? But that coach-like piece did come out too, because it wasn't how do we help these kids, but it was also who do we need to help in terms of the staff to throw a lifeline to? How can we support to get through this? And then to see our growth and see, you know, that picture we had at midterm wasn't our final product. We definitely made inroads, and we worked hard. We worked really hard that time. So proud of that moment.
Thanks, Ian. Okay, MV, some thoughts on this question? Oh, I'm sorry. No,
When we were having,
that's right.
oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Dean.
Okay. So when we were sitting down trying to figure out what we were most proud of, we were incredibly proud of so many different aspects. But what we came up with was the fact that we're most proud about how positive and solution oriented our team is, because we're dealing with some really difficult situations. Our approach is very collaborative, and as a result, it's stronger and more creative. I think back to, I'm going to say years ago when student success first started to come into play. We tended to work more in silos. This was a student success issue. This was a guidance issue. This was a school support counselor issue. This was a classroom teacher issue. We no longer work in those silos. Those student success meetings that we regularly attend are so vital to the success of our kids. And essentially what we do is we have our staff table a name of an individual who is struggling. We don't look to ask our staff exactly why they're struggling. We dig deeper into it as a group. And then when we figure out a solution or a direction we want to go, we then move back to the relationships that everybody has talked about. If it is, for example, a mental health issue, we know the supports that are available on our board, but it might not necessarily be our school support counselor who deals with that. It might be Margaret, because she has the relationship pre-established with the student, who will lead that with the support of the rest of the team. And there are times when our school support counselor, who focuses primarily on behavior and mental health, might spearhead something for an academic program for a student because they've got that pre-existing link. So we're incredibly proud of that. I'm just looking at a couple notes that I had here. Our kids really see us as a group of caring adults, and we come at it from a variety of different angles. Margaret, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, everything you're saying there, Dean, is like absolutely right. What it's all about in terms of why things are so successful. And I am really proud of like the way that we approach things together as a team. I was thinking too about, and this builds on what many of you guys have mentioned, our relationship with the rest of the staff in the school as well. You know, like even the broader team. That also is something that I'm really proud of. Again, looking at it over time, teachers have really grown to trust us as, you know, almost representing, right, this idea of student success, because it did come with a lot of, right, new ideas. It came with new ways of assessing, you know, new opportunities for students. There's a lot of pieces there that can come into play when you're supporting students. So I'm really proud of how teachers come to us and invite us into their classrooms and, you know, ask us for, you know, sometimes some coaching, you know, when it comes to ways to assess or just realize that they might not have the student's whole story. And just the fact that now they, you know, start from there and want us to, you know, things are confidential and we can't always, you know, disclose everything, but it's great that teachers are working with us on the whole student. And I'm really proud of that part, you know, that they're accepting us into their classrooms and seeing us as part of their day-to-day.
Margaret, you also mentioned about the rest of the teachers being part of the larger team. And so that's an interesting thought, right? Too, right? You have your student success team, but in the way you're describing it, the whole staff is part of the student success team to some degree. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Right, because that's, you know, hundreds of other connections, right? And so it's really just about everybody communicating, and it's now that that's, you know, that's happening, and that the culture's there, right? It really is about students feeling that, you know, they belong in their classrooms, that their teachers understand where they're coming from, and yeah, that makes all the difference.
Thanks, Margaret. Thanks, everyone. Okay, we have one more question for you to think about. And we had our first meeting of our student success review this morning. So that was exciting. Wish we could have been face to face, but we made it work the best that we could. So thinking about that, as part of our student success review, we are reflecting on the goals of student success and where we feel we currently stand in relation to those goals. So taking a growth stance, in your view, what do you hope for from this review? We'll let Arpar go first on this one.
I think for myself, at least, Jenny, since I have been in this role for a while, I'm excited to have the opportunity to collaborate with other schools and hopefully generate some new ideas, and also to take the opportunity to kind of look back and see maybe what has been working well at ADHS and maybe what are some things that we can improve upon. I think sometimes over time we lose sight too, or maybe focus. So I think it's a good practice to go back and look at those documents again and refocus. And like I said, have the opportunity to hear from some other schools and hopefully help us generate some new ideas, new things that we could maybe try.
Thanks, Christina. Anything to add, Ian?
I think she pretty much summed it up. You know, when we talk as a team, for me, what I really would like to get out of the review is, you know, looking at what we do well, what we need to go. But I think for me, it's kind of long-term, short-term. I'm anxious and very keen to talk to other teams about what exactly is happening right here now as we transition, hopefully, towards what school will look like after the pandemic, et cetera. Because I think we're experiencing a lot of those same short-term issues, but then again, over the long haul, where do we want to go? Where do we see the team working towards, and what are some of those common goals? So for me, it's a little bit twofold, I guess.
That makes sense, Ian. There are two factors. Like you said, the short-term circumstances are what they are. So we're thinking our way through that, but also looking into the future. MB, Margaret or Dean, or both?
Yeah, so really for us, what we really hope to get from this review is a common understanding or a common vision from everybody that recognizes that success of this program is beyond credit accumulation. We need everyone to know that the program allows a holistic approach supporting academics. It supports wellness, social and family dynamics of our students, and the program needs to be proactive as opposed to reactive, and we want to keep that going in the right direction. And also very important that the program itself, as we review it, we understand the importance of staffing it appropriately, ensuring that the sections of student success aren't given out to a variety of different people, unless, of course, there's a rationale that allows those particular individuals to come together as a team. When we're talking about relationships, it has to do with the people. And the people are very important. So staffing it strategically is essential. And just to review a little more on the common understanding, we came up with a couple of things earlier today when Margaret and I were talking. Credit accumulation isn't the only goal of student success. Graduation is an end goal for all of our students. Student success is a tiered support that changes day to day, week to week, month to month, etc., based on the needs of the students and the barriers that they may face. We need to support the whole student, mental health, academics, family dynamics, socioeconomic, and that should, in fact, benefit credit credit accumulation and then result in the end goal of graduation. We referred to credit accumulation as the journey and graduation as the destination. And we did have one question out there that we're hoping is something that can be explored during the review. We know, and I believe this is true for all the schools across the county, we serve 100% of our students that come to us in student success. But how do we serve the ones that we don't know about? How about the ones who are in e-learning, the ones who are remote students? Or how about, for example, the high achieving students who day-to-day put on a brave face? So we're doing a great job, but we're always looking for more ways to connect with those who need our help. Margaret, do you want to add anything?
I think you mentioned it all, Dean. I really like your last question there. How do we, think to the future, to things that may be changing, right, in our schools, and hitting on e-learning and v-learning is definitely something that's on my mind. But like you said, we, I think, do a great job supporting the students who do come to us. And yeah, it's hard to think about the fact that there are students out there who aren't. So for sure.
Thanks for that. And I think that maybe you found yourself a spot on the vision writing team, because those are some really good points. So I appreciate that as well. And we've had a bit of a conversation here today also about the students that we still have not been able to reach, and thinking about that. So how do we continue to push ourselves forward to think about every student? Okay. Natalie, did you have comments on that question?
Just quickly, I do think that the review is timely in the sense that we are certainly feeling in our school building as a team and as a whole team of all of our staff, needs are really high this year, and students are struggling. Students are struggling with a return to in-person learning, and we are struggling to think about ways to support them and support their whole health and their family. Like, there are big struggles happening right now in our buildings. And this is such a wonderful team of people that we are lucky enough to be working with. And I know that the best practices that are happening at MV and in Arnprior are going to support the work that we're doing at Mackenzie. So obviously this is this review is a much bigger picture and a longer story than kind of dealing with post-COVID, but it does feel timely right now, because I know right now we are in the trenches and we're seeing a lot. Students are struggling, and I just think what a great opportunity to share ways to support the whole student with each other, so that we can kind of do the best for the kids in front of us.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for your thoughtful responses to these questions. That was really, really very, very telling. Around how passionate you are for the work that you do, and what an incredible advantage our students have because they have you in our corner and they have everyone on your teams in their corner, and really thinking about helping them to have the best educational experience and opportunities to pursue, the pathway of their choice, and really opportunities to be able to exceed even ideas of what we might have about their potential, because we recognize opportunities for excellence. So thank you so much for the ideas that you have shared. Jacqueline, did you want to say anything, or?
No, other than if you could see me both behind my mask and in the corner off the camera, I'm beaming, because I knew and I know you guys really well, and you lead from your heart, and that's what makes the difference. And we just appreciate all of you and appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us this afternoon. Thank you.
On behalf of Chairperson Morris, is there any questions or comments from trustees, Trustee Bowen and the Trustee Shields?
Yeah, what a great presentation. And I hear you say, words like supported, caring, relationships. It makes it sound more like a family than a school. I just wish that we could communicate this to the general public. I know back in the days when we had press at our meetings, that's before social media pretty well squashed all the local newspapers. After a presentation like yours,
the press would follow you out into the hall, take photographs, ask a bunch of questions. And in the next day, the newspaper would have, a beautiful story about, all the wonderful things you guys are doing. We have to work on a way to communicate that. And I don't know what the answer is to it, but, the people do such great work. It's a shame that, it's just this room full of people that hear it.
Trustee Shields, thank you for that comment because that is just so true. In the old days, there was just so much better communication from organizations like ours to the general public because you're right. We would have Wayne Levine and some of the others, right behind us. There'd be about 3-4 different newspapers, and people really got an opportunity then to, read about and see pictures of the really good stuff that was happening in our classes. I just want to make one quick comment here. Title this Reflections from the Field. This was so much more. You really gave us a profound education of what it's like to be working with kids. As a teacher, you're not teaching courses or anything like that. You're working with people. You're working with kids. You're helping them on their journey, to becoming what they can be, whatever they think they want to do, and then on that journey. So just thank you for this. We have a lot of great presentations. This is one of the very best. So thank you very much for that. Any other comments, Trustee Kaiser?
Just to kind of repeat what I said earlier today and to back up what Trustee Shields is saying, I mean, I'll phrase it this way. If I was a parent and I was trying to decide what school to send my child to, and I knew that this type of thing was going on in the school, it would be an easy decision for me to send my child there. And I think that sums up how important I think what you're doing is and how valuable it is to what we're trying to do here in Renfrew County. Thank you.
Trustee Boland?
Yeah, just to reiterate, it's just an awesome presentation. But just to expand on some of the words that you had said was just developing the relationships, just the connections with each and every child, so keep up that good work and keep trying to connect with, those hard to reach children because they still need our support. And, with your success behind them, that they can certainly achieve a lot. So thanks again.
Trustee Abbott?
I think this presentation was really great to hear, especially from a student perspective. I know a lot of students who would benefit so much from the student success programs. And I really like to focus in on relationships. I think relationships can be a tether for students to the school and to motivate them and to have a mentor. And student success really changes the outcomes of a lot of students' futures and success even beyond the high school level. And so it was great to hear about this. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. One of you referred to being a cheerleader for your students. And I think that today you have recruited a bunch of cheerleaders for the work you do out in the public. Thank you so much.
Any other questions or comments? One last little comment from me. Is it ever nice to see, I recognize all the names. It's ever nice to see, faces to go with the names. And it's just great. Mind you, some of the faces I know very well. Former student, former colleague, another colleague. But we are so blessed to have such a really great staff throughout our schools. Our kids are extremely well served. Thank you so much, Jenny, and you and your colleagues for this presentation. We
Welcome.
thoroughly enjoyed it.
Welcome. Thanks for the opportunity.
After that, back to the somewhat ordinary business of the board. We have committee reports now. I'll ask Vice Chair David Kaiser to present the committee of the whole report for today's open session meeting.
Thank you, Chairperson Norris. The committee of the whole, we had two sessions today, an open and a closed session. I'll start with the open session report for October 26th. The committee of the whole, the Renfrew County District School Board met today on October 26, 2021 and discussed the following items in open session. First item was the Renfrew County District School Board job fair. As we know, there's certainly issues with the labor force today, and we got an update from Superintendent McIntyre in regards to the success of our job fair that was recently placed. The second item was a discussion regarding the Petawawa family of schools. And it was just a report on the status and situation in the Petawawa family of schools and what we are going to be looking at doing down the road. The third item was the update regarding the student success component, very similar to the, not similar, but on the same wave as what we just reviewed with our presentation. This in regards to the student success component, the secondary program review, and the title was Rethink Secondary, Rethink at Secondary. It was an excellent report, very easy to follow and very straightforward in what the board is doing in terms of their secondary program review with student success. The fourth item on the agenda was the Policy Review Committee update. Board Policy 9, Board Operations regarding the territorial acknowledgement, which will be forthcoming on the next public board meeting. And the following recommendation was made that the Policy Review Committee regarding the Policy Review Committee update, the Board Policy 9, Board Operations regarding territorial acknowledgement, that the Board of Trustees with the Renfrew County District School Board approve and adopt the revised Board Policy 9, Board Operations. And move that the board adopts this report.
Can I have a seconder, please? Trustee Shields, you. Any discussion? We certainly had a wholesome discussion that made a whole on these items. All those in favor? And the motion is carried to adopt the committee of the whole report. Thank you very much.
At the committee of the whole closed session report, the committee of the whole met in closed session October 26th. It was a short closed session to review a trustee matter. There were no recommendations made. Senior staff and student trustees were asked to leave the room for the discussion. I move for the receipt of this report.
Seconder, Trustee Humphreys. All those in favor? Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to the Program and Student Achievement Committee open session report. And I'll turn it over to Trustee Mike.
Thank you, Chair Morris. The Program and Achievement Committee met on October 12th, 2021. There were three agenda items. Firstly, first one was summer learning. Superintendent Steve Block had four presenters do a slideshow presentation. Mr. Burnett, Ms. Murphy, Ms. Sloan, and Mr. Harris. It was a very, very good specific presentation, and I just want to highlight some areas of the summer learning. And it sort of segues into everything our board is doing in regards to student success. This summer learning program and report, extremely positive one. I just want to review some of the highlights. The purpose is to provide insight into the learning opportunities for the RCDSB students in the summer of 2021. Each summer, students are provided with a variety of learning opportunities. At the secondary level, students have access to e-learning courses when hosted by the board, but also can be enrolled in courses offered through the Ontario e-learning consortium. As well, cooperative education is routinely offered across our district. This is a great opportunity to allow secondary students to meet Shazam requirements, earn credits to compensate for missed credits, or gain extra credits. This summer, the Ministry of Education provided additional funding to support special education and mental health and well-being. This allowed us to hire SSCs, EAs, and CERT to support summer programming. It also provided an opportunity to run the Fresh Start program as we had done last year. This program supports students with special education or mental health needs with a successful transition back to school. This summer, the RCDSB secondary students had an opportunity to earn e-learning credits through the consortium. We also ran 3 full sections of summer co-op. And finally, 17 students also took advantage of a great dual credit opportunity offered in partnership with Algonquin College in Pembroke. And lastly, at the elementary level, we ran a summer learning program for primary students with the focus on literacy and numeracy, as well as literacy numeracy intervention programs for both junior and intermediate students. We ran 11 virtual classrooms from grades 1 to 8, supported by teachers, educational assistants, special education, resource teachers, liaisons, school support counselors, and a supervising principal. Approximately 160 students attended this elementary summer learning program. This report was strictly an information item only. And that's report number 1 for summer learning. Very, very positive report on everything we're doing, not just during our regular school year, but in addition over our summer. Fantastic. The second report is the ICT plan for 2019 to 2022. Superintendent Steve Block had Doug Fiebig do a presentation, pretty extensive review, and I just want to speak to the highlights of that review. The purpose was to provide a report for three-year progress of the RCDSB ITC plan 2019 to 22. Some of the background: the RCDSB retained the services of the IBM Canada K-12 Education Consulting to conduct a comprehensive review and communication and technology plan on the following 3 areas: educational assessment, IT infrastructure assessment, and IT organizational review. The objective of this external review was to use the information provided in the creation of the RCDSB's next ICT plan and future strategic planning. Current status is ongoing. The Information Technology Department continues to work towards accomplishing the goals identified for the 3-year RCDS plan, ITC plan from 2019 to 2022. That's item number 2. We appreciated our manager, Doug Fiebig, for presenting that. And item number 3 is our program and services review cycle for 2021-22 school year. And Director Buffoni spoke to this, and I will give you some highlights into what he had to say. To present the Board of Trustees, the purpose was to present the Board of Trustees a renewed plan for the cycle review of programs and services offered by the district as part of the current multi-year strategic plan, including the sound stewardship of resources, human, material, and physical, for the effective and efficient operation and organization. Some of the backgrounds are: there are 3 categories proposed for the review of programs and services: formal reviews of programs and or services conducted by staff led by members of the senior staff. Recommendations to be adopted for the program and or services moving forward. Number 2, program and or services implemented and monitored subsequent to a formal review conducted by staff and under the supervision of a member or members of senior staff, including updated reports appropriately regarding the status of the program and or service. Presently, the current status is for the 2021-22 school year, the secondary school review, including French as a second language FSL programming at the secondary level, for instance, will serve as a predominant formal review. As part of the second phase of the visioning exercises for the district, this review will consider current policy direction and funding parameters provided by the Ministry of Education, as well as promising practices for program pathways within the district's own context. Key themes and topics for the secondary review will continue to include program pathways, apprenticeship, college, community, university, and workforce. 2, student success initiatives, including co-op, OYAP, dual credits, and Shazam. 3, experiential learning opportunities. 4, virtual learning environments and transitions to the secondary school. In addition to the information and communication technologies ITC plan, were reviewed formally in preparation for the next 3 school year phase of technology integration in the classroom and schools, as well as system infrastructure. Further FSL programming at the elementary level will continue to be reviewed, monitored, and implemented as a follow-up to the multi-year expansion plan for the elementary phase of the visioning exercise conducted during 2018 school year, especially as it pertains to the impact on other programs and services offered across the district, such as numbers in English and core French programs system-wide. Special services will also continue to be reviewed for program implementation and monitoring based upon the recommendations outlined in the special education review in 2019. And lastly, part of this report is, as a final point of consideration, employee services was previously scheduled for a cycle review as part of the 4 key services offered by our district: corporate services, employee services, program services, and special services. However, point noted, due to the extensive workload on human resources department at this time, the result of operational realities of the current pandemic context, this review will be rescheduled for a later period of time to be determined post-pandemic. That's report number 2 on program services review cycle. And number 3 is strategic link to a 3-year RCDSB ICT plan 3-year progress report. This report provides a 3-year progress, the RCDSB ICT plan for 1921-22. The following areas are educational assessment, IT infrastructure assessment, and IT organization review. The objective of this external review was to use information provided in creation of the RCDSB's next ICT plan, future strategic plan. The current status is the ongoing information technology department continues to work towards accomplished goals identified for 3-year ICT plan 2019-2022. Thank you for your patience. Those were pretty long reports that I condensed as much as I felt I could. And I would like to move that the board report be I move that the board adopt this report.
And could I have a seconder for that motion? Trustee Kaiser. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. The motion to adopt the program and student achievement committee report is carried. Moving on to the equity and inclusion committee report, I'll ask Trustee Marjorie Adams to present that.
Thank you, Chair. The Equity and Inclusion Committee met on Tuesday, October 12, 2021, and the meeting was attended by our mental health lead, Lisa Lariviere, who was there to present the annual action plan for mental health and wellness. No recommendations were made, and I move that the board receive this report.
And could I have a seconder for this report? Trustee Boland, thank you very much. Any discussion? All those in favor? And the motion to receive the Equity and Inclusion Committee report is carried. And moving on to Financial Resources, open session report. We had an acting chair for that, Trustee Susan Humphries, and I could ask her to present that.
Thank you, Chair Morris. The Finance and Resources Committee did meet on October the 12th, 2021. And there were 2 items on the agenda. The first one included enrollment, staffing, and class compliance report, which is a report required by the Ministry of Education. And we are pleased this year to see that our numbers of staff, or numbers of students, obviously, and subsequently numbers of staff have increased a bit. We're certainly looking at a larger number of elementary school students, somewhere in the range of 300 students as an increase. And at the senior level or at the secondary level, we have lost a few students, but we suspect that some of that may be that students decided not to come back for their big year as well. So overall, we're very pleased. And of course, it's also nice to see that we have been able to increase our staff complement as well. And we're pleased with that. The second item was around the trustee honorarium report. And as most of you know, the trustee honorarium has a base figure, but then the additional dollars are based on the number of students. Unfortunately, we're looking at last year's numbers of students, so we actually lost a bit of our salary this year. However, I don't think any of us are here for the money anyway. We're here because we are sincerely interested in the importance of education for our students. So with that, there were no recommendations made, and I would make the motion to accept this report.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder for this report? Trustee Gannett. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? And the motion is carried. And last committee report, SEAC, Trustee Mike Gannett.
Thank you, Chair Morris. The committee met on October 20th, the SEAC committee. One of the things that was discussed was Jonathan Latteroot discussed the Ontario Disabilities Act. It's an act that's in legislation, and by 2025, it should be in full accessibility across the province. The board has a link on a website that you can get further information on. Our communications manager, Jonathan Latteroot, asked if there was any questions. You had such a good presentation that I don't believe there was any. As far as the rest of our meeting goes, I was at the first half of it. I wasn't the second half, but I do understand that Amy McKenzie is our new chair of SEAC, and I congratulate her for stepping up and following in our new chair's footsteps. As far as board report, I don't know if Chair Morris has anything to say on that, but I don't at this time have anything to really say regarding that. And one last thing is that I forgot to mention on the Disabilities Act. There's an app 190 that the board has that explains the legislation. So that's it for this brief report on SEAC. There was really no specific news on community reports that I'm aware of. And I'd like to move that the board adopt this report.
Okay, thank you very much, Trustee Gannett. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Trustee Shields, thank you very much. Any discussion? All those in favor? And the motion to receive the Special Education Advisory Committee report is carried. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Director Buffoni and ask him to present the director's update.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Now that the busy nature of the startup of the school year has passed, our student, staff, and school communities have established the daily routines to ensure a healthy balance between academics and learning, mental health and wellness, and of course, health and safety practices. My sincerest thanks to all stakeholders for their continued efforts to see this through respectfully and sensibly, and really just a continuation of the busy nature of our school year all around. There are a number of exciting activities and events, initiatives, or projects that have taken place or will be taking place in our school communities as always that I'd like to highlight. Two in particular today. The first one National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. On Thursday, September 30th, schools across the system acknowledge this important day as Canadians. In response to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's calls for action, for instance, Killaloe Public School walked the path of truth and reconciliation with a series of activities for all grades that included circles of reflection for students to participate in regarding the importance of this day and the fact that every child matters. In addition, Opeongo High School honored the day with information sessions for students in learning more about the history of residential school systems, learning and standing beside Indigenous communities and their families, as well as preparing students for Secret Path Week, which is actually this week, October 17th to 22nd, in order to learn more about the Chinny Wenjack story. Dress Purple Day, tomorrow, Wednesday, October 27th, in support of Children's Aid Societies across Ontario and, of course, more locally, the Children and Family Services of Renfrew County. Students and staff will wear purple to raise awareness about the important role that individuals and communities play in supporting vulnerable children, youth, and families. The campaign is more important than ever since the pandemic has created additional stressors for families and in some cases has increased the risk factors related to the well-being and safety of children and youth. And last but certainly not least, as was mentioned in our committee of the whole meeting and again at board here this afternoon, the job fair of Friday, October 22nd. On Friday, October 22nd, the Human Resources Department held a job fair at 2 locations simultaneously in person, the Renfrew Recreation Center and Best Western Pembroke, as well as a virtual session in order to engage community members who might be looking for employment in a variety of roles and responsibilities. My sincerest appreciation to Superintendent McIntyre and Manager Scott and the entire HR department for their efforts in coordinating these important community reach out sessions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any questions or comments of the director and his report? Thank you very much. We really appreciate that. Okay, now it's the chair's update. It's October and our schools are open and humming with activity. Schools are following COVID-19 guidelines to provide a safer learning environment as possible. Well over 90% of our students and their families have opted for in-person learning, while the virtual learning environment is open for those students who, for a variety of reasons, choose that option. This has been a long time coming, and we are grateful to have students reunited with their teachers and friends in their classrooms. As I have mentioned before, the work of the board has continued throughout the past year and a half, despite the challenges the pandemic has created. Our thanks to everyone involved in making education a priority in these trying times. Students, parents and guardians, school staff, and central staff. In particular, I note the development of our renewed strategic plan, the document that essentially is our roadmap as we endeavor to meet the needs of our students over the next 4 years. Our school system is healthy and vibrant, with sound programs and highly professional staff. The best is yet to come. And we'll turn it over to our 2 student trustees for their review.
For Senate meeting, had a packed agenda. Some key items we'd like to highlight would be our vision planning session, where we discuss a large array of ideas. During this session, we went over the benefits that would come from AP and IB courses, and if they were offered to RCDSB students. We went over mental health initiatives, our equity roles, along with our future plans to reach out to more Indigenous youth for our student leadership roles. Another goal of ours this year is not only to recruit grade 10 and grade 11 to sit in on a meeting, but also reach out to elementary students. Our plans to begin in elementary senate will be starting with students coming in from each elementary school for a session during one of our meetings in early 2022, and launching our first elementary senate meeting before the end of the school year. We have 2 senators on the subcommittee for this reach out who will be involved in our next phases of planning. We went over the results of our recent survey that was sent out to all RCDSB students and highlighted some topics related to inclusion at a variety of school sites, including gender neutral signage and privacy screening for showers, the implementation of more and creative spirit days, LGBTQ issues, and the discussion of what Senate is and what they do.
A bigger topic that was discussed was mental health, such as mental health days that will include full or partial days of positive activities, having students learning coping strategies, collaborative hands-on activities, and more.
During our planning of the student forum in collaboration with Superintendent Poirier and Jenny Smith, we discussed our goals and the specifics of the project. The prominent topic will be virtual learning and highlights on mandatory e-learning courses, e-learning, as well as remote learning. We planned the length of the forum, group sizes, reach out plans, and guiding questions to inspire conversation. Amy Johnson also joined us to talk about our equity project, which is the equity extension of the Student Senate. This will comprise of 2 Student Senate representatives, as well as an equity minister from each secondary school. We elected 2 equity liaisons who help chair meetings and work with Ms. Johnson, as well as Taylor and I to plan agendas. The elected positions for our senators included a secretary, as well as the new positions, communications officer, working in charge of managing our social media, elementary reach out committee, and equity liaisons. The goal of having more positions on the Senate is to allow students to help with projects they are passionate about and to get the Senate more involved in the action instead of simply just the planning. And as for Osta ACO, we are very busy planning our fall general meeting during the first week of November. We have plenty informative sessions to help student trustees in their roles, special speakers, which I can't make any promises because things are changing as we speak, such as Jagmeet Singh, Kathleen Wynn, and Kathy Abraham. There are also many opportunities for student trustees to connect and meet other student trustees. As well, we are continuing our projects such as the Student Blueprint and the Student Trustee Today and Tomorrow. And the Public Work Council is also planning a report titled Redefining Student Success. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? Yes.
Is your fall meeting going to be virtual or in person?
It will be in person
Where? Where both?
in Toronto.
I'll be going virtual.
Yeah, they'll be attending virtually, but students have the option, so we're doing kind of a hybrid. So if school boards or parents want student trustees to stay home, they'll be attending online. And then any students who feel safe enough to come will be attending in person.
Very good. Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much, Taylor and Jasmine. Excellent report. And now, obstacle update, to any of our 3 representatives have a report. Okay,
Yeah,
Shield.
We're having regional meetings on Saturday, November the 6th, from 10 till 12. The topics are board reports. It's always interesting to listen to the successes and challenges of all the boards in Eastern Ontario. And the second will be reviewing Project Compass. There'll be some breakout sessions, so all the trustees, I just got the agenda from Judith Nyman, who's the support person from OPSA, for my approval today. So they will vote tomorrow. Student trustees are also welcome to join that. So mark that on your calendar.
Where is it?
Virtual.
Virtual. Yeah, it's right there. Okay. Any?
I didn't have anything else.
Nope.
I don't know.
Have nothing.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Dave. Correspondence, we don't have any. Moving on to other business. I'll ask Superintendent Jacqueline Poirier to comment on take your kids to work.
Great, thank you so much. I had mentioned earlier this week that Take Your Kids to Work Day is coming up, and it is Wednesday, November 3rd, and it is a virtual format again this year. But in conversation with Alex Harris, who's the OEAP lead, he was sharing with me much of what they have designed, and he wanted you to know that you're definitely most welcome to attend. If you're able to just come for part of it, he really is highlighting that coming to the live session that's at 11:45 till 12:45. And don't worry, I'm going to send you an email with Dr. John Caliper would be a highlight, and he's going to be speaking to about the trades during that piece. But you're welcome to attend any or all of the session, and I will send you the email with the flyer information so you have all of it there. And just note that some of the links will not be live until the day of. So don't be frustrated if you're clicking on and thinking there's nothing here. It won't work till that day, November the 3rd. I'll just put out another little piece too, that on November 9th in the evening from 6:30 till 8:30, there's a virtual career expo, and it's targeted for young women and their families. And last year we were the first in the province to host, and we are looking again of doing this, being the first board for this school academic year who's going to be doing this. It's a partnership with an organization called Build a Dream. And there will be local entrepreneurs and skilled trades individuals and organizations such as CNL, for example, who will be speaking or presenting at that Career Expo. And again, I will have that information forwarded to you, but I just thought you might want to mark that down too if you're interested. So that's in the evening on November 9th. November 3rd is during the school day because of course students will be online virtually participating in the Take Your Kids to Work Day. And also just note during that Take Your Kids to Work Day, they also do bring in partnerships, local partnerships and individuals who will speak from our communities as well. So all of that to be highlighted on those days if you're able to attend. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Sounds good. Trustee Adam?
That last one on the board website?
I don't know if it's up yet, but I know that today Alex has just finalized the Take Our Kids to Work piece, and also he just sent it to me today, so I'll get that to you. And I know he was probably finalizing a couple of the presenters for the other one, Marjorie.
Yeah.
But then they will get there. Yes, they will be. Yeah, as soon as he has all of the pieces finalized.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much, Jackie. And now I'll ask Trustee Kaiser to report on a really exciting event out at Killaloo.
Thank you, Chairperson Morris. I just thought it might be a good idea to bring to attention and to acknowledge some good public relations that we received recently on CTV News and some outstanding community involvement or partnership that we received for the same story. So in case you're not aware, Killaloo Public School opened an outdoor classroom which got promoted on CTV, the Ottawa CTV News. And so just some background that I got from the principal. This is the third outdoor classroom that Killaloo Public School has created. And what made this one rather unique, I think, in terms of bringing it to the attention of the board is not only the public relations we got, but also the owners of Valley Landscaping in Douglas, Ontario, Alex and Allison Brown, donated the 12 stones that make up the round outdoor classroom. They actually invited the principal to handpick the stones that would suit the classroom design. So I thought that was quite interesting. And of course, just want to acknowledge not only the principal, the leader, and George of the school, but her staff as well. And I'll just read what I had said. The classroom officially opened on October 7th with a song and teaching performed by Roberta Della Pica from the Algonquins of the Bonisher. The students worked in the classroom with local artists the entire day on a place themed project hosted by the Ottawa Valley Creative Arts Studio, which is another partnership from the community. And so the classroom adds an important element to the school community, provides students with a gathering place. The stones were set up to have, around Indigenous values and beliefs. And so I just thought it would be nice to bring this attention to the board. And as well, I thought I would ask Renaud to kind of talk a little bit more generally about the success of our outdoor classrooms right across the county and the community partnerships we have with them.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Certainly a great story. And I think it's worth noting that this initiative started before COVID. So at Killaloo, they had started setting up outdoor classrooms. And when COVID hit, they became a hot commodity because people were trying to get outside as much as possible. And from there, it expanded with the latest one with those large boulders. This is happening at Killaloo, but it's happening at pretty much all of our schools right now. People are envisioning the use of outdoor spaces. Some of our schoolyards perhaps are more conducive, but there's been great partnerships, sometimes with community members, sometimes with high schools. High school shop classes have assisted in setting up some outdoor learning spaces in our elementary schools. All this to say that there's certainly right now a movement afoot where it's learning outside is not an exceptional circumstance. It's something that's happening regularly, and it aligns with our inspired learning initiatives. And what's unique about this one is the connection to Indigenous spaces. And I think we can expect that as we move forward, we will see more Indigenous spaces in our schools, not only at elementary, but at secondary as well.
Thank you. Any questions or comments, Dave or Ronald? Thank you for that very interesting report. It's exciting. Killaloo's at the front of the wave of outdoor education, and that is really remarkable. And it's very certainly we at the board appreciate the generosity of that landscaping company to assist the students and staff of Killaloo in creating that outdoor education space. So thanks for bringing that to us. Any other items of business here? Okay. As Director Mahoney has mentioned in his update, this year's Dress Purple Day will take place tomorrow. Ontario Dress Purple Day is led by Children's Aid Societies across the province. There's an opportunity for all of us to raise awareness of children's rights to feel safe in all spaces, and that their well-being is important. And on that note, I have a motion for adjournment. Trustee Humphrey and second, Trustee Adam, all those in favor? Thank you very much for your attention. Thanks.